I'm the Commissar. We're watching Forged Alliance Forever, and it's time for our weekly dose of fun. Today, water control is surprisingly important, and not just in that big lake in the middle. On the right, we have the hot team. On the left, we have the cold team. We'll look at the map in a moment, but first of all, let's see who's up for the fight. At the top, for hot team, we have Skitter. He's 1306 rated, he's Seraphim, and he's in orange. And he is absolutely throwing back that desire to have fun from Martian, telling Martian that he also must have fun. Anyway, moving on down, this is BurningFireFly. He is 1240 rated and Eon. He's in Burgundy. And in the bottom slot for hot team, we have Jamaker. Perhaps he is referring to the island, or perhaps he just likes to make jam. And if he were making jam, it would probably be strawberry jam, because he's in red. He's 1297 rated, he's playing UEF. I mean, I guess it could be raspberry jam, but then it would be more of that pink colour, I suppose. Either way, he's walking forward. And mirroring them for cold team, we'll start here with Martian. He's 1502 rated, the game's highest rated player. He is playing Seraphim in mauve. Moving up next to him, this is worldhuman. We'll call him human today. He's 1148 rated and UEF in dark blue. And last but not least, up here at the top, this is Gappy 4200, who is 1278 rated. He's also UEF, and he's in baby blue. Now let's look at the map. About 15 kilometers, 12.5 kilometers, somewhere around there. Little scattering of reclaim. These cliffs don't really seal off that much. There's not much down the cliffs. This island in the middle could be important, and I think that control of the navy will also be very important. It may not look like a huge pond, but you can range basically every base from that pond. So whoever gets into the water and takes it, they could be able to just UEF cruisers, Sarah cruisers, Cyber destroyers. Any of those could easily bash the bases from the water, so I think Navy's going to be quite central here. Now, we've got these expansions here, and we already have Skitter up here and Jamaica down here going into these expansions. Martian and Gappy are both a little slower to theirs, so we could see an early advantage in terms of eco from the hot team. That said, this expansion back here, which Gappy will take in the left and Jamaica in the right, Jamaica's gone for the forward position first. Gappy's being more greedy with his engineers going out to the back. A little bit of fighting here. We have a single lab coming along from Jamaica, but Martian is defending against that with a tank and scout to defend this group of mechs, and that's wise, because Gappy hasn't really done the same, and there is potential for a lab to get through there and shoot him up, but that wasn't something Skitter chose to try, so we never found out. Now, I mentioned getting into the water was going to be important. We have a couple of engineers here working on a factory for Gappy. So he's definitely going to be first, I think. There's only one engineer, and BurningFireFly's had to pause it. Why has he had to pause it? Well, he was having both mass and apparently power problems, but he's now resumed. However, he could be denied if Gappy can get frigates out here and shoot that up before the factory goes up. Early air pressure here coming out from human. He could pick up a few of these expanding engineers from Jamaica, which would be very nice, but he's going straight for the base. I don't like that as much. There's a bunch of factories here that can just replace them straight away. But if he picks off this engineer or this one, then Jamaica would have a problem restoring them. However, he comes in, he drops a bomb, and an NG goes down. Little scuffle there. And this fighter here is called back to try and stop the bomber, which is going to take another pass. Okay, so it got 3 engineers. That's quite nice, even though I would have preferred them to be further out, but the bomber gets shot down. And not content to stop, we have another bomber up here, picking up another engineer, but that gets shot down instantly. And the favour is being returned, but that bomber gets nothing done. We've got anti-air already in the base for human, and he's got inties patrolling. Now, we have been hearing shots about in the middle of this, and that's happening down here. We have tanks scuffling between Martian and Jamaker, and Martian is coming forward, but Jamaker is getting the gun, and if Jamaker can finish the gun, then Martian could have a problem. We also note that Firefly is first to the middle island, and he's dropping NGs to get the reclaim and the mexes, and there's no real competition for him as yet, though he may lose this transport if that inti notices. We also mentioned Navy. We've got a frigate and sub out for Gappy, but look at this naval production that Firefly is putting down, given that he hasn't been denied. He's really doubling down or even tripling down on it. Still standoff in the south. We'll come back and check on that later. But I want to see what these 2 boats can do to Firefly's production. I think it's too late. I think that these will not be able to really do any significant damage to Firefly. The sub won't help against the engineers unless he surfaces it, because these are Eon engineers and they hover. And that torpedo launcher is going up, I'm sure of it. And what's the frigate actually attacking? I think it might be attacking the naval yard? Now there we go, now it's turning its attentions to the engineer, which is much more interesting, because the build power is what Gappy really needs to shut down. But the torpedo launcher's up, the factories are all up, these 2 aren't going to get anything done. And down here, we have some action. Martian has started on the gun, but Jamaker's finished the gun. They've both got spam, and Jamaker might be able to force a cancel on Martian if he's going to be able to push hard enough, and that's quite a lot, and Martian has retreated with his spam. Is Martian actually in danger here? There's a gun common, there's a decent amount of spam. Martian's spam is out of position. Yeah, Martian is forced to cancel and fall back. That is going to be painful. I say that, but he's not falling back much. He's sticking up there. He's sticking in the front. This could be unwise from our highest rated player. But Jamaker's spam is now going down to Martian, and Jamaker in turn could be swarmed down. However, Firefly is coming in. He's going to try and do the damage. And Martian's into the red. Jamaker's still in the green, but there's so much spam from Martian, and Martian falls away. However, he may be trapped by this movement from Firefly. However, I think we need to watch up top as well. On the left, Jamaker is now surrounded as Martian are only 400 hit points, so there's a bomber coming back which might hit him. 200 hit points for Martian, but he's gonna get out. He's gonna escape. Those 2 comms will, especially with Jamaker's gun, will be more than enough to deal with the spam, but Martian is going for the water, and here, Gappy's taken a bit of damage, but he's seen these T2 point defenses, he's running away. I was hoping for more there, but we'll just have to wait and see, and return to this shenanigan. Martian knows he needs to get out of there and heal up a bit, and he's heading for this pond. Is this pond actually deep enough for him? It's gonna be close. But he's gonna go right to the back as Jamaker chases him down, and Jamaker is into the yellow, but he's dealt with that spam. And we now have Human coming in to help out and push back Firefly. Firefly's still naked. He's gonna have a problem if Human, who has both gun and T2, is able to push in and deal some damage, and Firefly sees that and falls back. Now Jamaker, knowing that Martian is deep into the red, puts up a torpedo launcher. Martian will have to try and reclaim that, but I don't know if he's going to be fast enough. He's sending spam to try and shoot it. Yes, now he advances. His head might just be out of the water there. Jamaica comes forward to be able to avoid the spam and continues putting up the torpedo launcher, Martian tries to run away. If Jamaica sees that, he'll follow, and he does. But what's that? We mentioned that Firefly had the central island, and he is making use of it. He's dropped artillery and anti-air into Human's base. And he's doing it more up here. This is going to be great. But over here we have to watch as Martian is now back in the water. And Jamaica is in trouble as Human's comm and the spam from Martian trap him, and Jamaica tries to get out, but he's going to have a problem. But meanwhile, there's turrets going up here, including a Triad, a T2 turret from Human. Firefly's coming in to help. He's taken damage because, remember, he's still naked shooting down this turret, but now the new Triad targets him. That could be a problem for him. As Jamaica is trying to get out of the water, it's now Martian who's building the torpedo. And in comes Firefly to try and take out that Triad, but Human's also got gun. Firefly is absolutely in trouble. He might not make it out. 200 hit points, boom! Down goes Firefly as our first ejection from the game, and Jamaica is running away from the torpedo launcher that Martian's managed to get up. What a turn up for the books in this area. But over here, look at those things that Firefly dropped. They are shredding, absolutely shredding the mass points belonging to Human, who's now lost 7, and there's still 2 of these, but Jamaica tries to come out of the water and he dies to the turret. And now it's suddenly Skitter versus the world as Hot Team lose 2 of their players. But wow, what an exchange, and Skitter's now inheriting these. Let's go back to single screen. Now, while all that's been going on, we have T2 Navy on both sides, and we also have a TML on Skitter's comm. He's trying to hit that naval yard, and he's got it down so close, but there's a TMD just going up there for Gappy. Ooh, that was close. However, speaking of Navy, I said it was going to be important. We still got more production here in the water for Hot Team, which Skitter's inherited, and he's got a destroyer or 2 coming out, but we've already got 2 destroyers and a torpedo boat on the way for Gappy, so more production for Hot Team, more Navy already for Cold Team. What's going to be the outcome of that? And this torpedo TML on Skitter's comm is really going mad. He's fired a lot of shots, but he hasn't really achieved anything with it because of this TMD here, which has just saved the naval yard. And look at the NG assistance repairing that naval yard at high speed. He's trying to TML some of these boats, I think, or nope, just a sonar. But this fight is gonna be a problem for Skitter, I think, because he doesn't have enough here yet, and these T1 torpedo launchers won't stop the destroyers or the torpedo boat. And as if that's not enough, Martian, he's only got T1 Navy here, but he's bringing it in to join the fight from the south. And I think Hot Team's control of the water may be in trouble, as these multiple destroyers, there's only 1 destroyer here, and I don't think the next one's even going to get out, as in swarms Martian's force from below. There's a torpedo launcher there, but 1 torpedo, well, there used to be 2, but now there's only 1, and it's being focused. That said, Gappy's lost quite a lot, but he's still got 2 T2 units here, 1 torpedo boat and 1 destroyer, and there's only a couple of subs left for Skitter. If the HQ goes down, that I think is going to be that for the naval control in Hot Team's favour. If it ever was. Don't think it was, you know, since they've got 2 players in the water on Cold Team. Hot Team has only 1 player's worth, if that makes sense, of water control, as nobody else entered the water before the great explosion, and down it goes. So what have we got? Well, over here we have had Human pushing forward, but there are pillars on the map, quite a decent number of pillars coming out of Jamaica's old base for Skitter, and Human does have T2 and he does have gun, but all the spam supporting him from Martian is only T1. We could see a PD creep here from Human, and I suspect he might go that way. In that case, would Flapjack mobile missile launchers be the play from Skitter? Could be. Ooh, this Destro takes a tactical missile hit from Skitter's comm, he's really keen to get some value out of that TML, and I think he's going to, because Gappy hasn't noticed that. Boom, down it goes. And this is a big horde of Yenzine hover tanks that Skitter is bringing across here, in addition to his T1 spam. There is a Destro there, which could cause some problems. I think that's enough Yenzines to swarm the Destro. Is he going to go for it? Is he going to go for the naval yard? That would be a big pickup, because he's trying to get back into the water down here, as we can see. Swarming down that naval yard, that will be immense, and he's going to have to do it soon, because we're getting UEF Governor cruisers coming out with their long-range tactical missile launchers. And that could cause some problems. For example, there's a bunch of mexes on this middle island. This could just eat them, and then it could come and bombard Skitter's base. So Skitter's going to have to be prepared for that. And it looks like he is going to swarm around this naval yard. And that's good, because this torpedo launcher can't do anything. Yenzines are hover tanks. Good play from Skitter. I'd probably focus the Destro first, rather than the naval yard. The Destro backs away, but the hover tanks hover after it. Okay, now there's quite a lot of that T1 Navy coming back in. He's got to commit one way or the other, and this is neither. I don't like it as much now, but there are more Yenzines coming in. There's a T1 bomber. But he's not going for the naval yard. He's heading into the base of Gappy, and Gappy, with his comm up here, might have to fall back in order to deal with it. This could be some good damage from Skitter. And we can see here that Human is sending units to help. But this is a bunch of T2 mexes here that could be vulnerable to, and all of these units are T1. In fact, most of them are scouts and anti-air, because he really wasn't prepared for T2 units in his base, and this could pay off. However, over here, we do have Human pushing in on the base that Skitter inherited from Jamaica, and we do indeed have the PD creep we foresaw. However, there is PD going up in response, and somebody's going to have to do something in order to break that standoff. And I think that, sure, there's a couple of Urshis in here, but there's a lot of T2 PD. I think that this isn't going to break in too hard. He says courageously, and there are still pillars coming out of these factories. These could get a run by though. Meanwhile, how are those hover tanks doing? Well, they've taken out 3 mexes and could get some more. The swarm of T1 might be enough to take them down, especially if they just sit here where they can't really shoot anything useful. Leave them here, have them at least shoot that mex. But I understand that Skitter's concentrating elsewhere. Here, for example, where Martian is repaying the favour and getting units into Skitter's eco. However, he's defending with T1 point defence, and there aren't any pieces of arty in here, so he's only going to lose a couple of mexes. However, it has brought these pillars out of position. Meanwhile, he's shielded his line of point defence, and Human has had to fall back and set up camp over here. Up here, though, we have T3 land for Skitter, and he is getting a few units out. Air defences to start with. Another horde of Yenzines, but there are Othiums, and that could be the difference. Othiums in number could really deal with the naval problem that he's going to have to contend with. Because look, this cruiser is getting work done. It's got 26 kills already. And I bet most of them are little bits of eco. Like, he's been kicked entirely off this middle island. And Skitter has got gun and T2 as well as the TML on his comm, and this is not enough to stop him from Gappy. So Skitter, especially now he's got T3 Seraphim mobile shields and Othiums backing him up, that could be a lot. The distro, as we can see there, can range him, and that could be a problem, but with a Seraphim T3 mobile shield to hide under, and T2, I don't think he's going to be under that much threat. Human, however, has a good idea there to break through the turtling that Skitter's trying in the south. Skitter has gone T3, and on a UEF comm, that means we can have Ravagers, which absolutely outrange the defenses that Skitter's got here. He's trying to respond with Clink Hammers, T2 artillery pieces, which will outrage the Ravagers, but not if he puts them there, they won't, by the looks of things. Let's check that. Oh, it's actually pretty close. But the Ravagers could be enough for Human to break in. However, speaking of breaking in, look at all this lovely T2 eco that Gappy had up here, and look what's going to happen to it. It's going to be smashed by Skitter. This army would be enough, and as if that's not enough, he's got his comm with its TML and its gun and its T2. He's got these Ophiums in here. That's going to be a problem for Gappy, and Gappy's coming in with his comm. Sure, he's got gun, but there's T3 in there. This is going to be a big ask for him to stop this. It's going to be a big ask for him to survive, actually, and I'm enjoying the boom. I said it was a big ask for him to survive, and it was. Skitter takes out Gappy. And now there's very little to stop him just smashing down from the north. However, there are some people who say that offense is the best defense, and whether or not they're being offensive is up to you, but they're certainly making an attack. We now have 3 cruisers bombarding the T3 land production from Skitter here. So, Martian having now inherited this, but Gappy, I think, built them. He's been absolutely going for tactical missiles from the cruisers to try and break through him, and we need an awful lot of TMD up here if the eco for Skitter and his T3 HQ is going to survive, and he's not really working on that. He needs to notice that and understand it and counter it. And also, speaking of defensive, this position has now fallen to the point defense creep from Human. Skitter advancing slowly. He's making use of that TML. He's not wanting to put his comm in danger, and there is now T3 land production here, and there are Perseus coming out. But against T3 already in position with T3 Sera mobile shields, I think the Perseus will have a problem countering this. However, Skitter needs to see that and move in order to stop the Perseus, because the Perseus outrange those Ophiums as it stands, I think. However, he's going to force an engagement, he's going to push in, and he's going to do the damage. Interesting, his answer to the cruisers is not TMD, and you can see that he's losing mexes as a result. His answer is to send Ophiums under the water to use their torpedoes. That might not be enough on its own though, because there are also Destros here with their torpedo defense and their own torpedoes to guard it. And actual, naval anti-navy units are probably going to defeat a few amphi-tanks that just happen to have torpedoes stuck on them. However, there's a decent number of Ophiums, and we do see, finally, tactical missile defense going up over here, but that doesn't mean that there's tactical missile defense over here, and the air HQ is going down. More mexes are going down. Skitter's going to have a problem, and you can see that in the eco stakes, as he is now only about half the eco of Cold Team. And the creep advances. There is a massive pillars here, but he can't make any more because he's lost the UEF HQ. And the creep is just continuing. He needs to stop this. He needs to push these in now and overwhelm this before it gets any worse. But he's too busy concentrating elsewhere. He's got to focus on these Ophiums trying to damage the Navy. He's got to focus on his comm, who's now lacking an amount of spam. Finally, he tries to take out the naval yard, and I think these Ophiums will manage it. but it does mean his comm is looking a little exposed here. However, look at the damage he's done to Cold Team's eco, but it's not enough because he's just losing more eco, and Martian especially is ecoing up pretty well. Look at this, that's a decent amount of eco he's got there. Rather than face the Otheums, the Navy just heads south where it can support the advancing forces of worldhuman and of Martian. If Skitter can get some engineers in here to reclaim this, he's got his comm there, but his comm is standing there firing TMLs. He needs to reclaim this. That would be amazing if he could. However, Gappy is now out of the water and can't add to this Navy, so that's at least something. But he's still got this Navy to deal with, and that is causing problems, and there's a lot that Skitter still needs to rebuild. Good use of the comm TML though to get some more damage on the eco of Cold Team without actually letting his comm be threatened. I don't like the level to which his comm is unsupported here. However, those Otheums which took up the Navy have come on down here, and they might get some damage on Martian, who's now sending a transport in. Where's that transport going? It's trying to get some of the naval reclaim here, which Skitter is also trying to do, but Skitter has the problem in doing that there is a Navy here to stop him. And the creep advances. Martian is also bringing Otheums onto the field, but Skitter has more. More stuff beats less stuff. I was expecting Skitter to come out here and try and hit some of this, but he's not going for that. Only he's coming out here, and I can see why. There's some eco here, a nice quad of teched up mexes to catch. That could be a lovely pickup. And Martian's flying in person to deal with these Otheums. That's a lot of T3. What's he got that will enable him to stop those Otheums? Spamming combat comms as well. Well, is Martian a combat comm? Yes, he is. He's got double nano, and that will be enough for him to work through the Otheums, despite the fact that that's a lot of T3 firepower coming in on him. However, Skitter recognises this, and Otheums are faster than the comm, so they can just run over here and get more damage done, and Martian will have a problem catching them, especially as they shot the transport when it landed. Nice. Human is consolidating here, and he's building combat SCUs, as he said, and those Rambo SCUs will be a problem for Skitter to stop. What's Skitter's answer to that? Has he got an answer to that? The eco disparity is now huge because of all of this, but, well, here's his answer. He's got a chicken. Skitter has a chicken and it's heading south. We have the first combat comm out from worldhuman, and he does also have a T3 gun comm himself. First? No, second. He's got one here already, but the chicken, underneath the protection of a Seraphim mobile shield, is going to blow it up. How are those Otheums doing? Well, there's still 3 of them alive, and they have taken out 3 more mexes here, and those were T3 mexes, so he's getting the eco damage done, is Skitter, and as we said, he needs to, but, I mean, he's doing it. This is cool. That's 4 T3 mexes and 4 T2 mexes that this Otheum raid has taken out. But he can't sit upon his laurels, because as his comm falls back here, we can just see Martian re-expanding, and I said Skitter needed this reclaim. He's sending some engineers slowly to try and pick it up, but he needed to transport them out here, and Martian's just going to be there first. The chicken is going to try and take out the Navy, and it has done some decent Navy damage, and as we said, Martian can't replenish it now. He lost his naval yard, he's rebuilt one, but it's still at Tech 1, so those cruisers can no longer provide the damage. Scared of the chicken, worldhuman and his combat friend go into the water to escape it. This could be a great opportunity for Skitter to just push down and smash this with his chicken, though he would have to worry about these guys coming out of the water. And Skitter's now finding that Martian is already here. But the chicken is going into... Is it going straight... Yeah, look at that. He's ordered it to just go straight across here and trash Martian's base. That could be some good fun. Expo walking to you, I think, says Human, and he's not wrong. But this Othium has seen the ACU of Human under the water along with this Combat Com. Good reclaim work, however, they reclaimed the Othium. Where are they going to go? No, I was wondering if we were going to see them pop out of the water and go full Rambo into Skitter's base, like that T3 engineering suite on the Com and the Combat Com already having one. They could put out Ravagers here, and that would be brutal. But no, they're planning a retreat towards their navy. However, the chicken now knows where they are thanks to that Othium, and the chicken is walking down upon the Com. They put up a T2 torpedo launcher. Could that chicken ground fire the Com? Neither of these forces are really equipped to fight it out here, and yet they're trying it. But if they try and leave the water, then the chicken will just trash Human, so he can't afford to do that. Up here, there are also T1 land spam forces coming in from Skitter, which is enough to drive Martian away. That's good. Not too much investment. Meanwhile, though, Martian has gone double gun, double nano. Another Combat Com comes in here from worldhuman, and Skitter is looking a little bit exposed. If that double gun, double nano Com comes in here, it could be a bit of a problem for Skitter. And these Othiums are now swarming around Human, but with the T3 engineering suite, it's going to take some time for them to get around him. And because Skitter doesn't know that there's a double gun, double nanocom flying in, his chicken is going over here, and his com is still unprotected. Could this be the death knell for our valiant hot team holdout? He takes out the Rambo SCU, but in comes Martian directly into the fray with his double gun, double nano Seracom, and Skitter is in trouble. He's falling back. He's got another chicken going up here. He's got tanks coming in to help, but Skitter is shedding his health. Good block from the landed fighters. He's going to get a shield over him. He gets a shield over him, but the shield goes down instantly. He gets it. No! Boom! Skitter is taken out, and Cold Team wins the game. Ah, what a lot of fun we had splashing around in that tiny little pond at the bottom, and what a close shave for Martian. Either way, I particularly enjoyed the big heap of shenanigans on display of tactical missile com, Rambo SCUs, double gun, double nano. Of course, I always love that. Tell me what you thought in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and obey. I'm the Commissar. I will see you next time.